Hi everyone, my name is Emma, and if you couldn't tell from the intro to this video, I'm moving overseas in 6 months, and because of that, I have decided to kind of put together a before I move TBR and try and work through as many books as possible, to be honest, as I can before I move, just because I really can't bring a lot of books with me when I move overseas. And because I think that it's a good opportunity for me to work through the books that I have in hopes of getting new books and finding new things that I enjoy while I am overseas. So the purpose of today's video is to kind of share what books I want to read before I move with you guys, and so that you can get to know a little bit about me, the books that I like, since this is my first video. And then in future videos, hopefully you'll get to see me making progress on that physical TBR, hear more about the countdown to moving and that kind of thing, because that's all really exciting. But yeah, mostly I just want to talk about books that I love and books that I'm really excited about reading, and so I hope that you guys will come along with me on this journey as I pick a few books out and share them with you. And yeah, so today I'm going to be choosing 24 books to put on my physical TBR, and the reason that I am choosing 24 is because on average I read about 4 books a month. I do expect the number to be maybe a little bit higher, and the reason that I think it'll be just a little bit higher is because a large part of the 6 months, I think 3 or 4 months of it, will be over the summer, and I tend to read more in the summer just because there's more vacation, more car time, that kind of thing. So there's just more time to read. And there's also a lot of books that I've been highly anticipating reading, series especially that I've been highly anticipating reading. A little secret about me is when I'm reading a series, I like to get through it quick. And so, because I just want to see what comes next, you know? So I feel like because of that, the number will hopefully be a little bit higher than 24, but even if it's not, that's totally okay. The point of this video is just kind of to talk about the books I'm excited to read and share with you why I'm interested in reading them before I move. I hope that you enjoy this video. I hope that you find books maybe that you've already read before and that you love, and if you do, let me know which of these are your favorites, or maybe you find a new recommendation, something that you might like as well. So without further ado, let me go pick my books and then I will come back and share them with you. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so the first books I'm going to start with are the 2 books that I'm currently reading, and that would be Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte and The Story Might Save Your Life by Tiffany Crum. So I'll start by talking about Jane Eyre. The reason that I'm reading Jane Eyre is actually because I'm a huge fan of the Literary Life podcast, and they are currently going through the Jane Eyre novel. I listen to that podcast alongside one of my friends, Lily, and she and I are reading this at the same time, and so this will be a book that's kind of in progress until I think the middle of April is when the last episode comes out. So this will be a little bit of a read that takes longer for me just because I'm following the reading guide, but I've barely been enjoying it so far. I'm about 90 pages in, so I'm just following Jane as she's still young. And everything, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I think some of the settings and characters that I've seen are similar to others that I've read before, but in a really interesting way, and I like that they kind of provide different aspects to the story as well. I really love British literature. British literature is my favorite type of literature, especially British classics like Victorian and romantic novels. So I love Jane Austen. I have not read all of her books, but I'm working on it, which is kind of funny because I didn't pull any for this challenge. I am really enjoying Jane Eyre so far, and so I'm excited to just keep making progress in this. and to have this as one of the books that I read before I go. And then my next one is This Story Might Save Your Life. It is a book of the month pick for me, and this book in particular is kind of outside of my normal reading zone, to be honest, or my reading comfort zone. I am definitely not a mystery person or murder mystery person. I don't know if this is technically a murder mystery or not. It might just be a mystery thriller thing. I'm not really 100% sure how you would classify this one. But so far it is about two podcast hosts, and one of them goes missing with her husband, and the other podcast host, I think, ends up becoming the main kind of suspect in the crime. And you're following, at least right now, I'm following his point of view, and then I'm also getting snippets of the autobiography that the podcast host that went missing has written so far. So it's been really interesting to kind of read their history and read where the story is at the moment. So that is This Story Might Save Your Life by Tiffany Crum. So those are the two books that I'm reading right now. And now we're going to move on to just books that I am excited to read. I guess I'll kind of finish like my March TBR with you guys first. I don't necessarily pick books like that though. Like I don't do a monthly TBR, at least not right now. Just because I'm kind of a mood reader. I want to read what I'm in the mood for, just because for me that's the best way to make sure that I keep reading, which is what is most important to me. So, but these are two other books that I'm hoping to read either in March or April, sometime in the spring. The first is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. I really don't know enough about this to talk about it, other than it's like I think it's sci-fi. I don't know if it's necessarily sci-fi, but there's some time travel elements to it or interweaving timelines to it. And so I really wanted to read this a long time ago, actually, and my husband just remembered and got it for me for Valentine's Day. So I'm really excited to read this and let him know what I think about that. I don't know about you guys, but I am a huge fan of like when somebody gives me a book as a gift, I always want to make sure that I read it and tell them about it. So yeah, that is Cloud Cuckoo Land. My next book is one that was recommended me to my boss. It is Theo of Golden, which is a story about an old man who goes into a cafe and there are all these different sketches of people, and he goes and tries to find all of those people and kind of hear their stories. I really love sweet stories like this, and she does too, my boss does too, and I think these are great books to kind of get people thinking about kindness and sharing each other's stories, and like how the stories of individual people kind of shape communities and shape humanity as a whole. So I'm hoping to kind of see those themes in this book, and I'm really excited to read it. I think it'll be a really sweet read and kind of different from a lot of the different stuff that I read right now. So that is Theo of Golden. So my next stack of books is kind of reads that I'm really anticipating, that I've been excited about for a while, or books that have been recommended to me. So the first of those is The Bright Years by Sarah DeMoff. This book has been pretty popular on booktube. I've seen a couple people talk about it, and it follows, I think, a family through a couple different generations. The reason that I really got interested in this one is because for my December book of the month, I read Buckeye by Patrick Ryan, and I really enjoyed reading about how kind of trauma and issues are kind of passed down in families, and I've heard similar things about this book, that it kind of covers similar themes, and so I wanted another read like that. So that is what I'm hoping to see in The Bright Years, and I'm really excited to read this one as well. I feel like I'm gonna say that I'm excited to read every book, but because I am. I'm really excited to read all of these, so yeah. But anyways, so the next story that I have is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. This one was really highly recommended to me by my friend Lily. She really liked it. She did recommend that I read it in the winter, which it will not be winter again until after I move, so I am kind of going against that suggestion and maybe reading this in the spring or summer. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. I think it follows a little bit of a magic thing. I don't know if there's time travel, but things that are similar to that. Definitely like a magical world in some ways. And so I'm excited for that as well. And then next up, I have a book that I have been wanting to read for months. It is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I got this book when I was taking a trip into town. I really like to go to bookstores just for fun, and I don't know about you guys, but I always end up getting books even when I'm just going to the bookstore for fun, and The 7-Year Slip was one of those. I love rom-coms, It is no secret I'm a big rom-com fan, both movie and book-wise, and I actually hadn't read a lot of rom-coms. I still technically haven't read a lot of rom-coms, but I had not read like almost any until this past school year started. So I have gotten very much into them and enjoyed reading different ones, and so this is one that I definitely knew that I wanted to pick up. I don't know if this is technically a rom-com or if it's just like a romance book, but kind of the same idea where it's romance, that kind of thing. And I love time travel. I love time travel in books. You might notice this either from, I don't know how many of the books I picked up today. I'm looking at them because they're over there. But I don't know how many of the ones I picked up today have time travel, but you guys should tally and let me know because I'm pretty sure it's a lot. Or similar kind of weird things about time or interlinear timelines. I just think it's interesting to kind of talk about how time shapes memories and those kinds of things. So this is a book that I'm hoping will kind of do that. And then my next one is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I read The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry 2 or 3 summers ago now, and it is still one of my favorite books of all time. I quote one of the scenes where the I think it's the aunt or the sister-in-law is talking to the police, and she like explains how she likes her stories. I quote that line all the time because I love it. And just so much of that writing was so good. The characters were super compelling in that book, and so I really liked Gabrielle Zevin's writing then. But at that point in my like reading career, I guess I wasn't necessarily like picking up a lot of authors all the time. I was just kind of reading through the books I had at that point, and that was one that I had gotten on a bookstore trip with my dad. And so it has taken me a long time to like look into other books that Gabrielle Zevin has read or has written. And so this is one of the other ones that she's written. So this one I think also follows just a long span of time in the characters' lives. It has a lot of things I'm interested in. I think there's like video game design, which I've also been interested in at different points in my life. And so I'm excited to read about some of that and to read about characters growing up together. So that is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. The next 3 books that I have are also books that were gifts to me. So I'm going to kind of go through them, not super quickly, but just they're gifts and they're books that I want to read because they're gifts, but I'm also really excited about them. So the first is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is another book that I have wanted to read for literally years, and I actually didn't buy it for years. My husband got it for me this Christmas. He is really good at just finding books that I have mentioned once or twice, and like he puts them in a list and he'll pick one up and surprise me. But I have wanted to read this one for years, I think since I was honestly in high school. So I'm really excited to read this one. I think it's similar, has some sort of time travel or other world thing where the character is going into a library. And yeah, I don't really know much about it behind that. I think I read like the first 10 pages at one of my job's libraries the other summer when I like had run out of my own books to read. But yeah, so I am very excited to read this. It has literally been years in the making, but yeah, and I love books that have to do with books and librarians and writing and stuff. So this is a great pick for me. And then next I have Dolly Alderton's Good Material. I think this is a rom-com or a romance book. Again, I don't always 100% know the difference between which one is a rom-com and which one is a romance book unless I look super into it. But this one, I don't know even really what the plot is of it, but it was a blind date with a book that I picked up while I was at the beach that my mother-in-law gave to me for my birthday this past year. So yeah, I honestly can't tell you more than that. If you know more than that, let me know in the comments below. Okay, so I read the back of the book a little bit, and my only like 2-second synopsis is it seems like it's about a couple that's broken up and maybe they're working through some of their issues. So that sounds interesting to me. I'm interested in reading this book, and again, I want to read it because it was a gift so I can tell my mother-in-law what I thought. And then my next one is also a gift. This was for my little sister for Christmas. It is The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison. Once again, this book plays with time. Are we surprised? Not really. But I think in this one, a girl ends up going to Ireland because I think it's because she needs a break from like her life in Los Angeles. I think she was an actress or something like that, and she's like, I just need a break. And when she goes over there, she finds out that she's on a different timeline and things have happened in her life that she wasn't expecting, and there's another person, I think her best friend in her life, that is alive that wasn't alive in the present timeline for her. And so she's going through all of those things. I'm pretty sure that's the summary for this book, and I'm not forgetting. So I was really excited to read this one because I've heard really good things about this one as well. I'm excited to get into that one and to kind of see how the story plays out. And like, again, just to think about like the different choices we make and how they impact the life that we live in the present, and like what that feels like, how that feels like for grieving, how that feels like for hope, and all of those things. So that is The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison. And then this next book is not, or was not a gift, but it was a random bookstore pickup book. I got this from Second and Charles. It is One Star Romance by Laura Hankin. I am in a season of life where a lot of my friends are getting married or have recently gotten married, and so there are lots of weddings going on, and I love weddings. I think they're so fun, but one of my favorite parts of weddings is just the bridal party and seeing how they all interact with each other and the different dynamics between people. I just think it's so interesting, and so this is a book that I think kind of gets into that a little bit, not like directly, but the main couple meets at a wedding, I think. Because the guy reviews the girl's book, and then again, it's that I like books about writers, I like books about books. The guy in the book reviews the girl, her romance story, and gives it a 1 star. So I think this will be really interesting, and this is definitely a rom-com, I'm pretty sure. It should have a lot of like good banter, I'm hoping. So yeah, I'm really excited to read that one. But yeah, so that's 1 Star Romance. So the next 3 books that I want to talk about are all by the same author, and it's an author whose books I've kind of been slowly working through over the years. I think starting in like 2022 or 2023, I started reading Francine Rivers' books, which she's a Christian author who really writes really just beautiful stories about faith and hard topics, and so I have just been working through. She has a lot of books. So I have read the like Mark of the Lion series before, and the what's the famous one? Redeeming Love. I've read those 2, and I've read a few others. I just really love the way that she tells the stories and just shows like true faith through her characters. So the 3 books from her that I want to read that I have are The Last Sin Eater, which I'm not going to be able to give little descriptions of each of these 3. Because I just don't know. I just know that they're by Francine Rivers, and I'm really excited to read them. So I have The Last Sin Eater by her, I have Leota's Garden by her, and then I also have The Lady's Mine by Francine Rivers, and this one I have been waiting for years as well. It hasn't been out like necessarily for years. I don't know actually when it was published, but I remember going into the bookstore like a few years ago, seeing it. I saw a copy that was kind of busted up, and I was like, oh, I don't want to buy the busted up copy. I'm very persnickety about how my copies look. I like them to be pristine, but and then they always end up getting a little bit beat up when I read them. But anyways, I saw this book, thought it was a little beat up, was like, no, I don't want to get it because it's beat up, but I love the description on the back. I love California gold mine, gold rush era kind of stories. That period in American history is really interesting to me, all of the things that were going on, and so I knew that I wanted to read this then, and I didn't end up getting it until Christmas this year, so I am very excited to finally be able to read this and have it on my TBR as like a very high priority read for me. So yeah, those are my 3 books by Francine Rivers, and yeah, I'm very excited to just continue in her list. Let me know down below what are authors that you guys like to read, and like go through their backlists of books, or just authors that you love. I would love to know more about what you guys like to read too. And then this next set is like what I was saying in the intro of this video. Whenever I'm reading a series, I tend to move pretty quickly through it because I need to get the next part of the story. So like last summer, I read The Summer I Turned Pretty books in like probably 4 or 5 days, all 3 of them, which I probably could have written them faster if that was all I was doing, but I was working too. So yeah, this summer my binge read series is going to be the Hunger Games books. I'm so sorry that they're still wrapped if it's giving any kind of glare. I am kind of weird about packaging and stuff. I like to keep things in the wrapper until I'm ready to read it, but I got this set of the Hunger Games books for Christmas, and I am super excited because these covers are super beautiful. But I have also loved the Hunger Games story for years. I have seen the books and not watched the movies, or I have watched the movies and not read the books. I know, I'm super sorry. I'm usually not like that anymore. But when I was in middle school, I preferred like the Maze Runner books. I think I only read the first Maze Runner book though, but I preferred that kind of stuff to the Hunger Games. I know it's literally the same thing, but I don't know. And then in like high school, I watched the Hunger Games movies because we watched them like together at school. So yeah, or I watched them with my friends from school. And so I really enjoyed the movies and have always kind of had it in the back of my mind like, oh yeah, I want to read those books someday. But since I got them for Christmas, there is no reason not to now. And so this has The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, and The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And then I also have the hardback copy of Sunrise on the Reaping. And so these are the books that I want to binge read as a series over this summer, and just finally see what the story is all about for myself. And I am really excited to kind of get into the heads of the characters more than you get to into the movie. I've heard that's kind of something that happens. You just kind of see more of their thinking. So I'm really excited for that experience as well. The next two books are a continuation of a series that I'm kind of in the middle of right now. For my birthday, I received the box set of the Anne of Green Gables series, and so the next two books that I have to read in this series are Anne of the Island and Anne of Windy Poplars. I read the first two Anne books this fall, and I am kind of torn. I definitely want to continue reading the Anne series before I move, just because I don't necessarily want to take all 8 Anne books with me, but I don't want to separate the series either. But reading these books in the fall was honestly the perfect, like, setting for me to read them in. I feel like Anne books are just such fall, like, vibes. I don't know if it's because I relate Anne of Green Gables with school and that kind of thing, but I don't know. So I'm a little bit torn about them, but I definitely want to read them in the fall, but I'll probably read them before the fall, maybe like late summer, you know, that might be good, because I feel like they also give that kind of vibe. So yeah, maybe I'll break out of my Anna's for the fall opinion, just so I can keep reading the series, because I really, really loved both of the first 2 Anne books. I loved Anne of Avonlea, honestly, more than Anne of Green Gables, but I think that's because she is in a season of life that I can just relate to, having just like finished with school and like kind of seeing what else is on the horizon and that kind of things for her. Those were all kind of plot points I could relate to, and so like as I continue this series, it's also going to be cool because at least for the next 2 books maybe, she'll still be in kind of a similar season of life to where I am at this point. So I'm just kind of excited to see how she processes those changes in her life. And yeah. And then my next 2 books are also by the same author, not by Ellen Montgomery, but they're just both written by the same author, and that is Blake Crouch. I have heard a lot about his books. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. My favorite book for the longest time was Ender's Game, and honestly, like, if somebody were to ask me what's your favorite book, I would probably still say Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, just because, like, that had been my heart book for such a long time, and I still really love it. So I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and Blake Crouch writes really good sci-fi, I've heard. So the first book that I definitely super want to read is Recursion. And again, it's a timeline that gets kind of messed up, but yeah, I am really into time weirdness books, and so this should be really, really interesting for me to read. My father-in-law has read this, and he was telling me all about it, and he loved it, so I'm really excited to give this one a read. And then the next one, I actually can't give you a really good summary of it. I just know that it's by Blake Crouch. My friend has read it, and she really liked it. She kind of had a lot of thoughts about it, and to me that's a good sign. Not necessarily that the book is going to be good. Sometimes, like, I know that this will probably be good because it's by Blake Crouch, but like sometimes when a book might not be your favorite but you still have a lot of thoughts about it, that makes it what is worth reading for like more people or for everybody. And so yeah, she had a lot of thoughts about it. But the book that I want to read is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Again, I really couldn't tell you what it's about, but I just know that I'm excited to read it. So yeah. Okay, and for my very last set of books to show you guys, I know this is probably more than 24 books, but I was counting the like series as like being together kind of as well, because like I said, I'll read those a little bit faster, and I also want to give myself some options. If there's something that like falls off, then it falls off, and that's okay. But the 3 classics that I want to read. So the first classic that I want to read is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I'm so sorry if I said the middle name wrong. I again don't know that much about this book, but I know that it's about a garden that is a secret. And yeah, I think this one is a book that my friend really likes, and also I think my boss likes this book. And I actually also have, it's up there so I can't get it right now, but I have a bookmark container that is ceramic that is like Secret Garden book. And so I was like, I can't really have the bookmark holder and have not read the book. And so I picked this up with the intention to read that. But now I definitely want to read it. I feel like this would probably be a good spring read because gardens are kind of springy. So maybe I'll get to this one sooner rather than later. But yeah, I'm very excited to have this one and to read that. And then the next one is also one that, guess what, I have been trying to read for years, or like had the intention of reading for years and just have not gotten around to, and that is The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I really like his short story, The Birthmark, because I actually have a birthmark. I have port wine stain on one of the sides of my face. I think it's my right side. It's kind of funny because when you have a birthmark for your whole life, you would think that you know which side of your face that it's on, but sometimes I just forget because it's just like, I don't know, it's just there. So yeah, but I really like that story because of my birthmark, and I thought it was cool to read about that. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll like Nathaniel Hawthorne's other writing. And yeah, so I'm very interested in reading this. I'm just realizing that my cover is kind of broken. So I guess has always been like that. But anyway, I've had this book for a few years. I got it while I was still in high school, I think. So yeah, and I just know that it's about an affair because that's what the Scarlet Letter is, like the scarlet stuff, like that is symbolism for an affair or like that kind of behavior. Anyways, yeah. So I'm excited to read this. If you can't tell from my channel name and my Instagram handle, I love reading classics. I was a literature major in college, and so I have always loved reading classics. I think they're really interesting, and I like reading older books because I think that they preserve just like the history of human tradition really well, or like they show us the history of human tradition in a lot of ways, and they're just really, really rich. With a lot of things that we can learn about who people are and how they interact, and like the patterns that we have, and like what we realize or like don't realize about how similar people from like a long time ago might be to us. Like I really, I took Victorian literature, I think last spring, and one of the things that I took away from that class was like, wow, we really are very similar to people from the Victorian period, just because of like, there's a lot of fear in our hearts now, and there was a lot of fear in their hearts then because it was the turn of the century, but then there was also like a lot of industrialization and mechanization of like the world and all of that, and that is kind of something that is recurring in our timeline, if you will, because of AI and advanced technology and stuff like that has all kind of played a role in like the modernization of people and like how do we let machines do people's jobs and all that kinds of things. So I'm very interested in classics for that reason, just finding those connections between us and them and like preserving human history and human tradition. And yeah, so anyways, that little ramble aside, that is why I have classics at the end of the video and why prioritizing reading classics is really important to me. And so with that, let me end this video with one final classic, and that is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Again, I really can't tell you what this is about. I was looking at the back hoping that it would say, and it does not. One of my friends in my final like senior capstone class, she did her paper on The Catcher in the Rye, and she really loved it, and she was so passionate about the book and about the paper that she wrote about it and the characters and the symbolism and all of that, and so I really, really want to read it. Just because of how interested she was, and I think that's a great reason to want to read it, is because of how interested somebody else was in it. And so I'm really looking forward to reading The Catcher in the Rye, and just seeing what got her so excited about it, hopefully picking up on some of that symbolism, and yeah. So that is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. And that actually brings us to the end of this video. So those are all of the books that I really want to read before I move overseas. Obviously, it's a little bit ambitious. It's a lot of books. But like I said, I try to read about 4 books a month, like 1 a week, but sometimes it takes a little longer. And so that like months are kind of 5 weeks long. You know, I always do this math in my head, and I wonder if you guys do that too. Let me know. But yeah, so those are kind of my reading goals before I move overseas. And that's kind of like the setup for my channel. Obviously, after I move, I'm hoping to continue if things go well and everything, or just because I think this is an interesting way to like record this time in my life, because it's kind of crazy and different from what a lot of people are doing, but I'm really excited for all that it holds, and so I want to have this as kind of a reminder, and maybe if anybody else is going through something like this, it could be fun to kind of go through it together, or you guys might just be interested in it because it's different. So yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If there are any books, like I said, that you have read and that are favorites for you, let me know. If there's any of the books where I was like, I really don't know what this is about, and you've read it and you loved it, or if you read it and you didn't love it, let me know down below so that I can prepare myself for what's to come with this reading. But yeah, in the future, I hope to just film or have videos where I'm reading these books or reading other books or doing other reading things. Yeah, yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more or follow my journey as I prepare to move, then subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.